Before I moved to Sweden, I did a lot of research. If you are considering moving to Sweden, you probably know that feeling. And one of the things I really wanted to know is how much tax you pay on your salary. At the time, we also had the opportunity to move to other countries, for example, Germany. And although I grew up in Germany, I had no idea really how the tax system works there anymore, especially not when you have a job. So I was researching that part as well, and I found out it's quite expensive in Germany. But this video is not about Germany, it is about Sweden. And in this video, I want to go through salaries and show you how much you actually pay here as an employee, but also as a freelancer or a business owner, because that's who I am myself. And there is a little bit more taxes you have to pay. Yay! I try to make this video as fun as possible. I know taxes is not the most exciting topic, but I feel it's quite important when you consider moving to Sweden. If you're very unfamiliar with it, it really helps you to understand how much money you can actually take home. I will use 3 examples, like 3 personas basically, to show you the different take-home salaries and what kind of taxes you actually pay. But before we dive into the exciting topic of taxes, make sure to subscribe to my channel and also sign up to my newsletter. There is a link in the description down below, and you get a little ebook about 10 questions if Sweden is the right fit for you. And if you really love this channel, Living Swedish, I started something new for you. It is a community Patreon page. There is a link in the description down below. I thought YouTube is amazing. I share as much as possible on here. But sometimes there are things I want to share more behind the scenes, you know, of what it is like to live in Sweden, more photos, but also more tips and insights on like places here in Sweden, in and around Stockholm. I want to share more resources with you, you know, links, which could be really helpful. And I wanted to create also a nice community where you can ask questions and I will answer the questions, but also other community members can answer your questions. And last but not least, I will also start talking in Swedish over there. So I will make little videos where I will talk a little bit of Swedish. It's probably good for me, and you will be able to witness what my progress with the Swedish language is. So if you're interested, check it out in the link below, and I will see you in the new Living Swedish community. Let's get started. Okay, I wrote down quite a bit of numbers here because that's very important. So when I look down, you know that there are my numbers, but I will also put them on the screen so you can follow along. So we will start with Emma. So Emma is 32 and lives in Gothenburg, and she works full-time as a marketing coordinator at a Swedish company. Her monthly gross salary is 35,000 Swedish krona, which is about $3,500 US. And that means her yearly gross salary is about 420,000 Swedish krona, which is 42,000 US. So she lives in Gothenburg, and each municipality here in Sweden has a certain tax rate. And for Gothenburg, it's actually 32.6%. And what does it mean? A lot of taxes are just within this one kind of percentage. You know, when we talk about education or child benefit, that would be all included in there. Healthcare is all included in there. You normally don't get a breakdown of it. It's just one kind of lump sum, or like a percentage of your salary. So that means for Emma, it would be 11,410 Swedish krona, or 1,200 US she pays from her salary to the Swedish tax system. And when you calculate this, it would be her 35,000 Swedish krona minus the 11,410, which is 23,590 Swedish krona per month she can take home, which is 2,450 US dollars. So in her case, it's relatively simple. She just pays a municipal tax. And normally the range is between 30 and 33%. Although 1% or 2% really can be such a big difference. So when you do your research, when you move to a certain area here in Sweden, I would always look up what you actually pay when you work in that area. Maybe it could influence your decision because your take home is not as much as when you live in another area, but that is totally up to you. It's just something to be aware of. There's another tax which is called national tax or statlig inkomstskatt, but that you only have to pay when you earn over 625,800 Swedish krona per year, which is about 52,150 Swedish krona per month or $5,300. But since Emma earns below that threshold, she doesn't pay the national tax. But I do have an example where someone has to pay that, so we will see what they have to pay. So the next example is Anna, and Anna earns 55,000 Swedish krona per month, which is about $5,600. That means she pays actually an extra 20% on the income above the threshold. She also lives in Gothenburg, just for simplicity, and we can take the same municipal tax percentage. So she pays also 32.6% on her entire income, which is 17,930 Swedish krona, which is $1,800. But that's not all. Now she has to also pay national tax, statlig skatt, because she earns 660 Swedish krona per year, and the threshold is at 622,800 Swedish krona. You now basically have to calculate her income, 660,000 minus 625,800, which is 34,200 Swedish krona. And that translates to $3,500. So basically now you have to pay some taxes on those $3,500, and that is actually 20%. So you calculate with the Swedish amount, it would be 34,200 times 20% is 6,840 Swedish krona, which is about 570 Swedish krona per month, which is then approximately $60 per month. So it doesn't sound too crazy, but you know, $60 are $60. So she does have to pay every single month $60 more for taxes from her salary. So that's why it's sometimes also interesting to calculate how much you could earn. Sometimes, you know, it's maybe okay to earn a little bit less because you would pay less taxes. Long story short, her total tax she has to pay is 18,500 Swedish krona. So that means her take-home salary is 55,000 minus 18,500, which is 36,500 Swedish krona per month, which translates into $3,800. And one thing which doesn't concern you too much as an employee is that actually there are social security contributions, but they come from the business you're working for. It doesn't really affect your gross salary. So for example, if we look at Emma, her employer pays 31.42% of her salary on top, covering pension, health insurance, etc. So while Emma sees 36,500 Swedish krona net or $3,800, which she gets paid, her employer is actually paying in total. So Emma's gross salary is 55,000 Swedish krona. On top of that, the employer has to pay another, over 30%. So the employer is paying in total 72,000 Swedish krona, which is $7,500 in total. And part of it is basically Emma's salary she can take home. Then there is Emma who has to pay like her part of taxes to Sweden, and then there is the part where the employer pays taxes to Sweden. So, which is really crazy. It feels like, yeah, it's really expensive to actually have an employee in Sweden. And that's why you have benefits like healthcare and parental leave, and they are basically so good. But let's quickly also talk about a business owner, what they have to pay. And to be fair, it's very similar, yeah, to being an employer. So you have to pay more taxes. We can use an example here as well. For example, Sophia, she's 40 and runs a graphic design agency. She has an aktiebolag, which is a limited company here in Sweden. And we can play around with numbers again. And her company makes 800,000 Swedish krona, which is around 82,000 US dollars in revenue. Then she pays herself a monthly salary of 40,000 Swedish krona. But that's not all of it. From those 40,000, she has to pay the same municipal tax, like we are staying in Gothenburg, which is 32.6%. So she has to pay that, and she then can take home 27 Swedish krona, which is about $2,800. And then because she is her own employer, she pays another 31.42% employer tax on her salary. So she has to really think about that when she pays herself. She has to have enough money, built so she can pay herself a gross salary, and have to have enough money to pay her own taxes and also the taxes as an employer. But she still has money left after paying herself like this monthly salary. And of course, to get to profits of the company, you deduct the salaries and any other expenses throughout the year. And then you pay 20.6% corporate tax on your profit. And actually, I remember reading that this is one of the lowest numbers of corporate taxes at the moment. I remember, I read something that in 1989, that percentage was actually 60.10% you had to pay on your profits. So at least you do not have to pay that much anymore, but it is still something. So after paying Sophia's salary, rent, software, whatever expensive she has, the company has 100,000 Swedish krona left, which is about 10,000 US dollars. And then she pays 20,600 Swedish krona in corporate tax on that. And the rest can be reinvested or paid out as dividends. But here we go. If you want to pay yourself like dividends, then you do have to pay another tax on dividends, and the rate is 30%. So you should definitely bear that in mind when you start your own company. But also just in general, if you're planning to start an aktiebolag, a limited company here in Sweden, make sure to consult a tax advisor. These rules can change and are changing all the time as well. So maybe if you watch this video a year later, the numbers could already be different. But yeah, if you found this video helpful, please like it and let me know in the comments down below. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching till the end, and I will see you in my next video. Hej då!